Most weddings, whether it's here, abroad, anywhere, generally it follows the same order. So I can predict.
So welcome to the show, Joe Kinerman.
Welcome, hi.
So what got you into photography in the first place?
I've always done it. Well, I say always done it. I've done it from when I was little. I think parents have always had cameras with them. And then it's just a love of just capturing everything and anything. It's a joy in photography, isn't it? We tend to only photograph the nice moments in life a lot of the time. So it's always we always look back on them fairly fondly, don't we?
Your parents, you said your parents grew up with cameras, so it's always a part of your life. What
Yeah.
cameras did they have?
I think my dad. I always remember my dad having like an old film Nikon camera, and I've kind of used that for quite a while. And then I've still got a few bits of it lying around the house somewhere or another. I wish I kept all of it now, but film kind of died a death for a little while, doesn't it? But it's definitely come back again now.
Hmm.
I kind of wish I still had those. I think still got the lenses, so I could probably buy the same matching camera again somewhere.
Did you accidentally throw them out, or?
Sorry, my cat's trying to get involved. So determined to be on the desk. I don't know. Just get lost over time, don't they? Moving houses and everything else. These like little precious things do seem to get lost along the way.
So how did you make that transition from initially doing photography as a youngster to doing it as a career as an adult without losing that passion? Because I asked my last guest this, and he was in a
Mm.
not photography but a different career. And the reason I ask this is purely selfish because when I was about, speaking for myself, 21, 22, I tried to get into games media because I was very much into video games at the time. But
Yeah.
that killed my passion. So I'm just wondering how it can work for some people and how it kills for other people.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I think it comes in waves. Like you remember that what you're doing is something you do because you love it. Especially when it's like you say, when it becomes work. You tend to only pick up your cameras when it's for work because that's how it ends up being. But I think especially the last year, I've tried to find time to go to like galleries, like try and do photography just for myself, even if it's like some street photography. Go wandering around London quite a lot. Try and take my cameras with me for that, and just try and do my own personal projects as much as it is for work, and just shooting something else. I shoot a lot of weddings. I've started shooting just some studio like fashion editorial stuff, just because I really want to do it. And just remembering what we do is it's just to play.
Hmm.
It doesn't always pay the bills, does it? Having some time just to play around, and lots of good things tend to come from that as well.
What is it about photography specifically that makes you stick with it? Is it the places you get to go and capture? Is it actually getting to play with the kit, or is the cameras just a byproduct as an excuse to do something you love?
I think it's nice having good kit, isn't it? We all
Hmm.
love to have good kit. I mean, I'd lie if I said I knew everything about cameras because I just don't. I'm just not that technical with them. I know how to get a good shot. Um, you know, I know the enough to work with what I need to work with. But for me, it's people. It's always people. It's the energy. Being around the right people is the main thing for me.
Did you always do photography work, or did you do something else prior to that?
So I was a hairdresser for 15 years before I gave that up about 2.5 years ago, and I was kind of doing both alongside each other. It just got a bit too much. I was doing like 1,000 hours a week, and it just wasn't, no, not literally, but it wasn't sustainable anymore. So I quit that just I think coming up to 2 years ago now. I think 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, September, and just to take the risk and focus on doing the wedding photography because it gave me a nicer balance of life. It's not that I didn't love my old job; I definitely did. This just gives me a nice balance between work and play.
So, how did you start out in wedding photography? Did you do like some of your friends, families, and then use that to build up a portfolio to take to clients, or did you just go straight for people?
So I think my first couple of jobs came via clients in the salon where I was working from.
Oh.
I'd always, spoke about photography and what I was just photographing, whether it's landscapes or, just people in general. And then a couple clients at the time were like, "Oh, do you know what? We need a photographer. We're only having a small wedding. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I don't really know what I'm doing as far as photographing people go because it's so different. It's trying to manage groups of people and letting people into their letting getting people to let you into their personal space is a real big thing. But luckily, coming from like a hairdressing background, you kind of learn how to manage people quite well, and then it kind of built from there.
Would you say the skills you learned with managing people in the hairdressing complement what you do now? Do you think that
Oh, for
amplified?
sure.
Oh,
Yeah, for
really?
sure. Yeah, there's a real big crossover. I think so much of the day now is reading energy and reading like how people's personalities work and how much you can push people and when people drop their energy drops, it's pulling people back up and just going
Hmm.
with the flow of the day and being one on one with clients in a salon, you get a good sixth sense for what people are like and how they're feeling. So that's definitely a big part of it. And without the hairdressing, I wouldn't be able to have that skill as much as I have it now.
What would you say hairdressing's taught you? Because we mentioned about the people managing, but is there any other skills that you learned from that which transfer over to the photography side to these days?
It's just trying to get people on side, getting people to trust you, getting people to feel like relaxed around you is definitely a major thing with weddings. I really try with my like wedding clients to whenever they book in with me to keep connected with them on social media, keep connecting with like on WhatsApp if that's what they want. And then ideally by the time we get around to the day, they know me a little bit, even if it is virtually. And
Hmm.
then I know them a little bit, and it gives me a good idea like how much I can push them as a couple. It allows them to build a bit more trust with me and my brand on the lead up to the day. And then by the time we get there, they feel like we're friends, and it just makes life a little easier.
Talk me through the process of as working with your clients. Is it they reach out to you, then you have a chat, and then you go and do the weddings, or is it do you approach them and see? Talk me through that.
So a lot of my work comes via Instagram now. It's such a big place to advertise, isn't it? We've got our
Hmm.
portfolio there. As much as the competition's huge nowadays, anyone can set up a business, can't they? You can buy a camera, you can open an Instagram account, and it costs you very little. The access to market is so cheap,
Hmm.
relatively anyway, to open up a different kind of business. But most people approach me via that. If not via that, it's from other weddings I've shot. So I'd say 70% of my bookings come from other couples and other weddings I've shot, or friends who've been at the wedding. They've booked me after they've seen my work from their friends' weddings. It takes a little while. It takes a few years for that to start happening, but it's definitely the best way because then there's trust there automatically, isn't there? If they've seen your work, they've seen what you've produced for a friend or a family member. The trust is automatically there, and it's so much easier that way. Instagram, I think there's a big thing in the industry this year where there's a lot of ghosting going on. So you get people contact you, and then just you reply, nice email reply to them, and then they're like gone. But it's part and parcel. It's just meaning like making sure you got enough inquiries coming through. I don't need a huge amount. About 32 a year is enough weddings for me.
I thought it'd be higher, to be honest.
No, it's enough. There's only so many weekends, right? And then
Hmm.
winter, um, you don't get tend to get loaded in the winter. I've started working in Dubai a bit more through the winter months, so their season's opposite our season.
Hmm.
So I started working out there. So it's been a learning curve in a new market, but it's been fun. It's nice working in the sunshine, isn't it?
What typically happens on a wedding day, regardless if you're in the UK or Dubai or perhaps another country? Can you tell me what happens from start to finish? So you turn up on the wedding day. The bride and groom obviously would know that you've arrived. How do you integrate yourself in such a way where you can take the photos but not interfere with the actual wedding itself?
Yeah. So I mean, as far as my perspective goes, most of the day follows the same pattern. Most weddings, whether it's here, abroad, anywhere, generally it follows the same order. So I can predict fairly accurately what's going to be happening. Obviously there's all these little nuances in every day, but generally, like the ceremony, the party, everything kind of happens when it would normally happen. I always liaise with the clients on the lead up, and that way we have a good rapport. I know what's happening. We have a couple meetings like we're having before the day, just to go over all the fine details. So the same what I'll be doing this evening, just catching up with clients for the next couple months. Most of the day you kind of let it happen really as it happens. You're just there to document, not to change the process of anything. The only thing we end up really organising is when we got family group shots and when it comes around to like the couple shoot. But again, we keep joys of modern photography. We keep it very natural. We keep things moving. Nothing stiff and static. Like our parents' weddings would have been back in the day. The idea is they're just in the mix. They're having a party, and then I'm just there to capture what's happening.
You mentioned about now everything's gone a bit more natural within the wedding industry. Why do you think that is?
Well, before when we had film, you only had a certain amount of shots, and everything had to be very staged because you only get as
Uh,
many shots with film, don't you? You might be able to shoot a few rolls of film throughout the wedding day, but now I'd probably come away with 5,000 6,000 images from a wedding. So it's the options there to kind of shoot a lot more, and you can cull and narrate the day from there.
I'm just picturing your memory cards.
Don't have a lot to be fair. I try and keep my workflow fairly simple. So I've only got 4 cards, and I kind of work through and have a good backup process. As soon as I get home from a wedding, everything goes into the backup system, and everything's kept super safe because you can't redo that those days. Backup and storage is a really boring part of our job, but incredibly important.
You said about you can't really redo the day. How does that add to any levels of stress because you've only got one take? You can't say, sorry, I
Yeah.
screwed up. Can you do the whole thing
Yeah,
again?
yeah.
I'll just be like, come on,
Yeah.
man.
So yeah, that's definitely not something you want to be doing. So I mean, there's like I say, because you can predict the day fairly well. It's not too complex as far as those things go. Um, it's the more important thing is just having all your data safe as far as the wedding goes. I know what's going to happen. I know the order of everything. I know what I've got to capture and what makes a nice gallery for the clients in the end. And as far as everything else goes, the cameras all shoot on 2 cars at once. You get home, you back up to 2 different backup systems. Everything goes online as a third backup. So everything gets super safe. It's nice that AI is slowly coming into our industry as well now. So that's helping the process afterwards a little bit more. So as far as editing goes, AI is starting to really help. It's getting to a good place now where it can cut down your editing time, which is really nice.
You've mentioned a few times that weddings are pretty predictable
Hmm.
and you're able to kind of go, right, this is going to happen here, 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 sort of thing. What makes a wedding predictable? Is it just because you've done
Just
so many?
Yeah, I guess I've been to probably getting on for 400 weddings now, which is probably a lot more than most people go in their lifetime, right? But it's pretty much every day follows the same order. It's not often it's in it flows differently. Most of them follow the same process. The only nuance in every day is the couple and the people there. So the rest, everything else comes from the energy of the couple and the guests. So you can only shoot what's happening, right? So if the
Mm.
party's good, if the energy's good, the photos are going to look even better. So it's what I always tell my couple is just to enjoy the day, and all the good stuff comes from that. Not to worry about all the photography side of things. Just trust me.
What, with all that, maybe rephrase this, with you doing so many weddings, what makes a good wedding photograph?
It's all about the energy. Like I said before, if people are having fun, it's all that shows through in an image. If you're enjoying yourself, it's not staged. That shows through. You want to look back at a photo and think, that's if you're the couple, you want to look back and think, that's just us having a great day. It's not scripted. We're not posed in a weird, awkward way. We're just in the moment, enjoying what's happening. That makes a good photo. It's the energy in an image when you look at it. Nowadays you see a lot of styled photo shoots, which I'm not against at all. I do them myself. It's good for marketing. It's nice to go and shoot something different. Working with models is always fun because it makes life really easy because they know what they're doing. Um, but there's not the same energy in those shots as you'll get with real people. And in the moment, there's so much emotion mixed into the day as well. So you want to show that emotion in an image if you can.
What has been some of your more standout weddings? If you've done over 400 weddings and you can tell it's the energy, it's the vibe, it's the couple actually having fun. With all of those, which ones have been like, that's one to remember?
A lot of the time it's the destination weddings, the ones that are in like Italy or France or Spain or anywhere like that, because a lot of the time they're usually over 3 days. So what you tend to happen is like you have a little party the day before, and everyone kind of gets to meet and mingle, and that allows the energy on the actual wedding day to be so much higher because everyone's so excited for it because they're basically all on holiday together. You're away with 150 of your friends and family, all celebrating, and you're all staying together. A lot of the day, like after the wedding, they all have pool parties and stuff like that as well. So there's just so much energy happening in those days. No one's going anywhere, so the party's always better because no one's going home early. Everyone's there for the duration. So things like that, I love being in them. Like destination weddings are great fun. They're exhausting from like my side of things, just because they're long days. There's a lot of travel involved. But there's always something that goes wrong. You have to fix and change like plans and everything else. But that's a part of it. I just really enjoy it. And the couples that tend to get married abroad, their focus is to have fun with their friends and family, and do this really unique event that you don't often get to do in life. So they're always the ones that really stand out to me.
You said about weddings being over 3 day events. You mentioned the first day being a party. I'm assuming the actual wedding comes in the second or third. What happens on
Yeah.
the other day?
So the first day is usually like people do like arrival drinks and a dinner, which can turn into a bit of a party sometimes, which more often than not does. The second day, yeah, is always a wedding, but destination ones tend to start quite late in the day, like 4 or 5 o'clock sometimes. So everyone tends to recover from their first night excitement, and then generally the third day would be like a pool party or something a bit more wound down. So people, just hang out and catch up and talk about their bad dance moves the night before.
I'm just trying to picture that right now.
Yeah, it's good fun though. It's like, by the time I leave, I always feel like I'm really like good friends with, especially the couple and a lot of the people there because you spent a lot of time with them. You've been through this little roller coaster of emotion with them throughout the day and tried to look after them as best you can.
What have been some of your favourite countries that you've gone flown abroad to film, well, photograph for?
Italy's always great. It's Italy doesn't mean a dry, sunny wedding by no means. I mean, I was in Italy last weekend and there was thunderstorms all morning, which you can never predict. People go for destination. They dream of this beautiful outdoor setting, for dinner. But that is not always the case, especially like northern Italy. It can be very wet sometimes, but Italy's beautiful. The light. There's something special about the light in that country, and everything we do, we need the right light for it. I mean, it really helps anyway.
Yeah, I can understand with the lighting. Otherwise, if you got poor lighting, people are like, "What is it?
Yeah,
What is
it's
it?"
tough if you got but that's the reality of what we do. You got to be really adaptable. Got to be used to shooting in bad lighting conditions a lot of the time, and like how to manipulate your cameras in a way that's going to make that shot work. That's there's a lot of art in that, and I think sometimes you forget the technical side behind making a good image in bad light. You can anyone make a good image in good light with a beautiful looking couple, but you get a tough day with bad light. it could be raining. You've got to find ways around this. You can't, wait for the light to change sometimes. Things have got to
Hmm.
happen when they happen, and then you got to find a way around to get those shots right.
You're also working with natural lighting in that situation, aren't you? And yeah, it's great if it's sunny, but then if it's sunny and cloudy, it's like,
Yeah, I mean, you
why?
go through it. I mean, especially this time, this year we've been dodging the rain, the sun, the cloud, the hailstones. It seems to have constantly be changing.
Hmm.
So it's trying to do that and make a gallery look really cohesive can be tough. But I always say to my couples, whatever happens, whatever the weather happens, it's all we're doing is telling their story. So there's no point if it's a really rainy day, trying to make it look like it's this sunny day that rain didn't exist. That is just a part of the day, and that is a part of the story, and we're only there to tell the story. So they just have to let go and enjoy whatever comes.
How do you tell the story with your photos? Is it just the amount of photos you take, or is it just the final thing? Oh,
Um,
go on.
I mean, the story's there, isn't it? You're telling this cup like whatever happens on the day. That is the story. Even the other day, I had one where the groom didn't turn up to the wedding, and so as you can
Elaborate.
imagine, that's a fairly tough day to photograph. I think she had an inkling that it could happen, and fair play to her. She's an amazing, powerful woman, and she's like, do you know what? My friends and family are here. You're here. I want you to still capture what happens today. We're gonna have a big party. We're gonna have a big dinner with everyone. We're gonna get stuck in and enjoy it. And that is telling the story. It's her story, her journey. Whatever happens, that's a part of it. But in the end, it was a nice day to photograph. When I sent her gallery, I messaged her and just said to her, "I really hope you look back at these images as a reminder of how powerful you are as a person and how incredible your friends and family are around you." And that's what we do, right? It's she'll look back, hopefully look back at those images and remember it for that reason, and not the wedding that wasn't meant to be.
You kind of feel sorry for her, don't you? It's like,
Yeah, I guess so. But at the same time, it's probably better you do it then than after the wedding, right?
true.
Yeah.
What other wild, no, I say wild, what other unique wedding stories have you had the pleasure
Um,
or displeasure of experiencing?
do you know what? There's not a lot of you get the odd drunk guest or people that have had too many throughout the day. Especially sometimes the grooms can have a few too many beers during dinner because they get nervous of the speeches. But other than that, generally everyone's amazing. I'm there. I'm very lucky. I get to share a day with people that are in a really amazing place in their life. And I get to share that day with them. It's a real honor whenever anyone gets to pick, whenever someone picks me to share that day with them because it is it's a very personal thing, and being allowed into that space with their like closest friends and family. I try not to take that too lightly.
To be blunt, you're essentially a stranger for a crowd to know people, but each other very well, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And you got to force your way into friendship groups and into very intimate spaces with people. So people allowing you into that is a very special thing sometimes.
How do you stand out in the wedding industry? Because I've had to look for myself, and there's just so many like wedding planners, photographers,
Yeah.
videographers. There's just, I think I've lost
It's in,
count. Yeah, how
yeah.
does someone stand out in this industry?
It's so difficult, isn't it? I think like most industries now, what industry is unsaturated,
Hmm.
but I kind of take it. There's a lot of people in this industry because there's a lot of demand, right? There wouldn't be the people if there wasn't a demand. So I think in the UK there's something like 200,000 weddings a year. So there's also a lot of work. It's I only need 30, 35 of those.
Hmm.
Um, it's I try and show the work I love, try and show images of the work I want to attract, keep turning up on social media. The main thing is on the wedding day, turn up, do the best job you can possibly do. hopefully everyone gets on with me and likes me, and that's the best marketing you can do. If you turn up and everyone's happy and glad you're there, they're going to talk about you and recommend you above any social media or any other way of advertising. That's always the best way.
True, and plus, if you do a bad job, you're not going to get any more work, are you?
Exactly. So,
Hmm.
we hope you turn up and do a good job and just, give all your energy for the couple, make sure it's like the best possible result they can ask for. And the main thing as well is just making sure my standards always going to be higher than theirs is ever going to be. If my standards stay up at that point, they're never going to be disappointed. So
Hmm.
this, is what I try and do every day is just try and raise the standards and make sure any venue I go to, I can try and capture the best images that have been taken at that venue.
When you said 200,000 in the UK, I was genuinely shocked at that. I thought the numbers for amount of weddings were going down. Or
No,
are
I
they
wouldn't say.
going, they're not?
I mean, they're probably maybe changing a little bit. So a lot of people potentially doing like civil ceremonies and town hall weddings and maybe not spending quite as much. But I think average spend for a wedding in the UK is, £35,000 spend. Um, I've been at weddings and they've probably spent £200,000 on a day. So it's so varied. And being in the market where people have got the money to spend is where you want to be, right?
Hmm. You've started doing video, well, you started filming these weddings as well. How do you judge when it's time to take a photo versus taking a video? And do you use the same camera for that, or do you take multiple cameras so you can just quickly go, right, I'm filming now, and then, oh, now
Yeah.
yeah.
So both cameras are set up to do both things. So
Okay.
there's only a couple moments in the day where you'd kind of want a photo and a video at the same moment. A lot of the time, you can flip between the two. There's not many people I've found in the UK that, or really, that do this and work this way. A lot of people have like a second person doing video, someone doing the photos. There's not very many people who shoot hybrid like what I do. I think slowly it will start entering the market a little bit more as the technology gets there. But a couple moments, sometimes I'll be shooting both and having both cameras in my hand. So I'll say when they walk down the aisle back from when they've just got married, I'd have my camera in one hand filming, and then have the second one above shooting photos. But it's only for a couple minutes here and there. The rest of the day, I can bounce back and forth between photos and video, and it's not too much of an issue.
I'm just trying to. Do you hold the cameras like this?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got my cameras to hand. Well, I literally have like one set up, like firing like video like this, and then I'll have the second one above it, shooting like that. But that's only for a few minutes a day. The rest of the day, I can do one at a time. It works well that way. Kind of, and like some things work better on photo than video, and versa. So it's learning what moments are good for video, what moments are good for photos. But it's taken a little while to kind of get into the swing of it. Shooting B-roll, which is a lot. You wouldn't even think about shooting any B-roll as far as photos go, really. Or I guess you would, but in a different aspect. Whereas, video, you need this bit of B-roll. I've started using like the drone for video, which is great. Um, yeah, it's a new challenge, but it's fun. You spoke earlier about what sets you apart in the market, and something like that definitely does.
Hmm.
Uh, it's good. At the end of the day, we're running a business, and it's good. It earns me a good bit of extra money shooting video as well.
On top of that, as well, it's also an incentive for the couples as well. On top of that, because instead of hiring two people, they can just hire one person to do both, and that's something a lot of people
Mhm.
kind of want, a jack of all trades.
Yeah, we search for convenience nowadays, don't we?
Hmm.
We're low on time, and they want things done and sorted quickly. If you can deal with one person opposed to two separate companies, there's definitely a preference for a lot of people, isn't it?
Do you think the jack of all trades thing might be a hindrance for you? Because you know the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. Because you're essentially, yes, you've got the understanding of the cameras, yes, you can switch between them both, but you're essentially doing two separate mediums.
Yeah, for sure. There's it's one of those things that I always say to couples if they want this big feature film and like all the speeches shot and the ceremony all shot. There's definitely a place for videographer. It's not. I'm not in trying to replace what a videographer would bring for a full day. I'm just trying to produce like a highlights video, usually 3-4 minutes long that kind of ties into their day. It kind of sits in that market where, sometimes people aren't interested of having a whole feature video. Our attention span's small enough nowadays, isn't it?
Mm.
So it kind of sits somewhere in the middle of having a videographer, having a photographer, and like not having any video at all. So it sits nicely in that and bridges that gap pretty well. And I find probably about 70% of my weddings now I shoot both, and that's grown from nothing in the last 6 months. So it's been a really good addition, and there's obviously a really big demand for that.
Yeah, I think you said on your website, was it your website or Instagram that you said you've had such a surge in people wanting video as well as
Hmm.
photography?
Yeah, especially when it comes to destination weddings.
Hmm.
The cost of having me shoot a bit of video for them opposed to bringing out a second photographer, tracks, flights, hotels, everything else that would cost them to bring someone else out. All my destination weddings tend to be shooting both photo and video now.
What they pay to cover your travel and hotel as well?
Yeah, yeah, that all comes in
Oh.
the cost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't make any money.
Oh, and that's fair.
Yeah, it's it costs more than you'd expect to go and shoot these weddings abroad.
I know I wouldn't be. Oh, I don't want to begin to imagine because you've also got to pay. Do you have to pay to have your gear especially transported in aircraft?
No, I keep it with me on the plane.
Oh, okay.
I cameras in it that will just never leave my side.
Oh, okay. So it works out for you in
Yeah,
that way. Yeah.
yeah. I don't need a lot. Most of my stuff will fit in a backpack.
That works great for you then.
Yeah, you don't, especially when you're traveling abroad, you don't want to bring tons of equipment. You want to be traveling as light as physically possible.
Yeah, you've got to be taking. Have you ever seen the red cameras? The cinemat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them in person myself. You don't want to be taking those abroad.
No, absolutely not. Technology makes, the fact I can shoot a film, take photos, bring a drone with me and it all fits in a backpack. We're pretty lucky nowadays, aren't we? We can do all that
Hmm.
and all in, 4K and, high definition and everything else. It's quite amazing what we can fit in, such small consumer products nowadays.
Do you think they'll ever get a point where we're going to run out of ways to evolve cameras and well, just photography equipment in general? Because what's that law called again, where technology, how does it go again? Technology always advances in firepower. I forget how it goes. What's it called?
Not
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, what's that called? I learned it in a documentary. Oh, it eludes me. But what I'm asking is, do you think we'll get to a point where technology can no longer innovate on the photography side?
I wouldn't have thought so. There's always, it's this thing we never expect to come along, right? It's like even the
Hmm.
last 2 years, for example, the cameras have taken a huge jump, which we weren't expecting. We've gone from these digital SLRs to mirrorless cameras that can track an eyeball without you looking at it. And, I didn't even know I needed that technology, but now I have it. I can't imagine working without it. And trying to use my old cameras now seems like using an old steam drain compared to a modern Tesla. So it's the new cameras are incredible and allows us to push the boundaries and change how we shoot compared to before. Like before, you always had to have your eye up to the viewfinder to shoot, whereas now you don't need to. You can take the
Hmm.
camera away from the face, which you wouldn't believe how valuable that is to a photographer. Being able to look for a screen and have the camera here instead of like in front of you. It takes those boundaries away when you're shooting people. If someone's
Hmm.
just staring at a camera, it makes them much more nervous. But if they can see you're smiling and like, a person behind that camera, it makes people much more relaxed. So being able to shoot this way changes everything.
There's also external devices like gimbals, which you can use to track people as well.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking to get into the wedding industry as a photographer?
So it's funny you say that. Actually, my cousin's starting to come and work with me, so she's wanted to get into it for a little while, but we've just got her first proper camera, so she's coming to work with me tomorrow for the first time. So for her, the access is a little bit easier because she can come and work with me, and she can learn from me on the day. Generally, I would always say to people to reach out to other photographers, if they can help second shoot. But you kind of need a body of work to approach people with because it's very hard to teach someone while you're trying to shoot a wedding. So I would always say to people, when you got your camera, just shoot everything. Photograph people, landscapes, jewelry, anything. Because when it comes to a wedding day, you are photographing everything and anything. You go from a product photographer to a landscape photographer to a portrait photographer to a nightclub photographer. So you've got all these different mediums all smashed into one day. So you've got to know how to adapt and like be malleable to every one of these situations. So if you're learning, especially if you want to get into wedding photography, you've got to learn every aspect.
So you quite literally, to succeed, be a jack of all trades with photography. Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Like it's not like, I'm shooting products all day and I can do that and, get that nailed. Wedding photography is very much, a jack of all trades, if you like to call it that. You can become a master of shooting weddings. You need a lot of different skills.
What would your dream wedding be that you'd like to photograph? Give me all the specifics and details. So if you could go anywhere in the world, you could take any kind of wedding or photograph any wedding you like, what would it be?
Do you know what? It's more than going anywhere in the world. It's more the people.
Okay.
If I'm working with the right people, that's generally all that matters. Being a beautiful location, of course, is going to help. If you've got people that are dressed well, they're in like, beautiful designer gear, like everything else, that's great. It can look beautiful, but if the energy is not there for the day, it doesn't matter. You can be dressed amazingly, you can be in this beautiful location, but if everyone's just sitting around not doing anything, it doesn't really matter. Everything comes down to the people that are there. I'd choose working with the best people in a not a great location over shooting a beautiful location and people just not being full of energy and enjoying the day. But if I was to choose, I'd love to go and shoot somewhere in some tropical climate to be nice, some palm trees,
Or like
somewhere by the
Hawaii.
sea. Yeah, something like that, or like Thailand, Philippines. So there's a lot of beautiful places in the world. Um, I mean, for me, I live by the water, so I always love going to work somewhere where there's the sea. So I was in Croatia last year, and the waters there is incredible. Shooting there is amazing. So you don't have to go far from home to find these beautiful places.
Joe Kinerman, everyone. Where can people find you if they want to book you for a wedding shoot or just want to learn more about you?
So Instagram is generally the best way to get hold of me, at Joseph Kinerman Photo, or my website is just josephkinerman.co.uk.
If you enjoyed that episode, then we've got the entire playlist here, or we've got clips here. Take your pick.